Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Oh, it is so great to be back in Gaston Hall here at Georgetown. It is really one of my most favorite places. And I thank you, President DeGioia, for your visionary leadership of this university and the commitment you have demonstrated over so many years to nurturing diplomats and peacemakers and leaders. This institute is a real reflection of that vision that you have brought to Georgetown. And it is always a personal pleasure for me to be here with my good friend, a Georgetown alum, Ambassador Verveer, who has taken a vision, namely that there should be a place in the world that pursues the study and looks at the implications of women, peace, and security. And that's exactly what the Georgetown Institute has been doing and will continue to do, as Milan is one of the unparalleled champions for women and girls in the world. And thanks to all of you for gathering. We missed being together last year, and it's wonderful to join again in this convening. I love coming to Georgetown for many reasons, but celebrating the Institute is certainly at the top of my list. And I want to, before I make a few remarks about Beijing, to express my deep appreciation to the Institute, to Milan and the Hardy Band that works there, to the university for their incredible commitment to the challenge of helping to evacuate Afghan women and their families during the crisis that started in August, continues certainly today. We worked closely together on a list of 1,000 women who had been active in education and healthcare, in the government and politics, in the media, in business, in every walk of life over the last 20 years, and whose leadership was moving the country forward, producing positive results for the people of Afghanistan, particularly women and girls, and who were therefore very much under threat when the Taliban took over. And I share Milan's admiration for those women who not only did so much over the last 20 years for their country, but who now, even though in exile, are continuing their work and their advocacy, their education and study. And we will do all that we can with the Institute and other organizations like Vital Voices that worked with us as well to support not only those Afghans who are in this country, but those who are elsewhere in the world. You know, when I think about the Institute, and it does, of course, directly connect back to the conference in Beijing in 1995, I think about how far we have come and yet how far we still have to go. This event this year seems more timely than ever because it's not only the slightly delayed commemoration of the 1995 UN Conference on Women in Beijing, but a recognition that the conference itself was a turning point in both the definition and the fight for gender equality. It brought women from literally every corner of the globe together to insist that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights once and for all. When I made that statement on behalf of the United States government and our delegation, it was controversial. There were those who accused me and therefore the advocacy that we were trying to demonstrate on behalf of women's rights and roles in society, of being anti-family, of being anti-somehow women, and yet today that statement remains a rallying cry because it's important for us to be constantly reminded about what happened all those years ago in Beijing, because it wasn't only my speech, it wasn't only other speeches, it was the work of the conference that has really stood the test of time. Because the conference, this international gathering, adopted something called the Platform for Action. 189 nations committed to, and I quote, the full and equal participation of women in political, civil, economic, social, and cultural life, end quote. When people ask me, well, what does feminism mean, or what does it mean to be a feminist? I say it means that you are in favor for the full and equal participation of women in political, civil, economic, and cultural life. And that is a positive statement. That is an affirmative call to action. And yes, 25 years later, in many ways, women in many places are better off. We can go down a list of examples. A girl born 25 years ago in Lesotho could not own property or sign a contract. Today she can. In East Africa, a girl born 25 years ago grew up in a region where female genital cutting was widespread. Now the practice has declined significantly, not disappeared, but declined. In 1995, domestic violence was a crime in just 13 countries. Today, it is illegal in more than 100. We've nearly closed the global gender gap in primary school enrollment, and maternal mortality has dropped by more than half. But the work is nowhere near done. We are in the midst of a global struggle between the ideals of this institute and a rising tide of authoritarianism, which has, unsurprisingly, coincided with a crackdown on women's rights. Fundamental human rights, civic virtue, even facts and reason are under assault. Now, I was clear-eyed 25 years ago about the challenges of making progress to fulfill the call of the Platform for Action. But even I have been surprised by the backlashes provoked by women's advancement. It turns out, as useful as the internet has been to organizing, including organizing among women, it has also created a platform for misogynists to spread sexist vitriol and disinformation. Again and again, we have seen anger, hostility, sexism, and even threats of violence directed at women who have the audacity to stand up, to speak out, and yes, to seek power within the family all the way to the White House. That's why the work of this institute and the 5 remarkable honorees we celebrate today is so important. Each of them attended the Beijing conference as a young activist, a young colleague, a young participant. And they went to work, both at the conference and then in the years that followed. They are emblematic of what the conference sparked: a global community of courageous women leaders standing up for equal rights to prosperity, opportunity, and dignity. I want to say just a personal word about the three honorees who are here with us. First, to Marina. Marina started the first domestic violence crisis hotline in Russia. She has helped countless women escape domestic violence and put gender-based violence at the top of the agenda in Beijing and has continued to keep it front and center in Russia against constant pushback. Her work is always criticized and under attack, not just from random people, but from people within her own government. And yet she has persevered, and she has done so with great courage and commitment, and she is a real inspiration to me. Patricia is a dear friend of mine. We were lucky enough to serve as each of our country's foreign ministers, I as Secretary of State, she as Mexico's foreign minister, and had the chance to get to know one another, work together. And I marvel at her extraordinary accomplishments. She is someone who can get a job done without seeking or demanding credit or attention, making it possible for a global agenda, whether it's on women's rights and gender equality or climate change, to move forward. She has been a leader in the global effort to address climate change, and she helped push the UN to adopt the Beijing Platform for Action as a young diplomat from Mexico. Palwasha, who attended Beijing as a young woman living under Taliban rule and now leads an Afghan women's network across the country, represents the leadership and courage of Afghan women who continue to fight in the face of enormous and daunting and dangerous odds. I'm really grateful for her and for the other Afghan women that I was privileged to get to know over the last years. They are indeed extraordinarily courageous, committed leaders, and I hope someday they're able to return to Afghanistan safely to continue their work. We will be joined remotely by our two other honorees, who each in her own way has fought for women's rights, women's role in society in every way, women's freedom, women's dignity. Each of these 5 women have shown exceptional courage, creativity, strength, wisdom, and of course, leadership. I know the world is a better place because of their efforts. And despite how easy it is sometimes to get discouraged, disappointed at setbacks and challenges in our own country and all the way around the world, I look at our 5 honorees and I cannot help but be encouraged because they never quit. They don't quit on themselves. They don't quit on their missions and their purposes. They don't quit in pursuing whatever they can to make life better for all the rest of us. So let them be a reminder to us to keep up this fight. It's bigger than any one of us, and it's just as true when we gathered in Beijing as now here today in Gaston Hall, that we have a lot at stake, and we need women leaders from every corner of the globe to continue to stand up, to speak out, and yes, to seek power. Thank you very much.